Hello learners, welcome back to the course on learning and development in organization. We move to the next lecture. We'll be looking into the sources of expertise. So if you have gone through the previous lecture, you would have observed that we have taken into account some of the key responsible positions with respect to learning and development. Today, we look into some of the sources of expertise, that is next level understanding of who all can provide learning within the organization. So some of the sources of expertise within the organization and what are the different possible groups or entities that actually can enhance the learning and development. I am Dr. Cyril Issac. I am a faculty member at the School of Business, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. Now, when you look into the sources of expertise, I'll start with today's quote. You cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him discover it within himself. So, this is a point which we all have to ponder upon. We all have to think on how effective can this learning become. If we look into ourselves, most of the insights, most of the learning is there, but we have to just brush it up. So we'll start with the different sources of expertise. I'll start with the internal source of expertise. So we start with subject matter expert. So SMEs. In NPTEL also, when we, as a course instructor, the most of the curriculum is designed by the course instructor, who is also called as SME, subject matter expert. So let's look into this SME aspect. Subject matter experts are individuals typically who within the organization possess deep knowledge in a particular domain. So this is vital to be the SME. So their expertise is grounded in hands-on experience, and they often serve as invaluable resources during training, onboarding, or even to a certain extent content development. Let's say an example could be an IT security specialist contributing to a cyber security awareness program. He can be a particular expert, or maybe a role in L&D. Now let's look into the role in learning and development. The subject matter experts help validate the training content. They tend to lead technical sessions and mentor the peers specifically. Another segment of people would be the line managers and the supervisors typically. Line managers are often the first point of contact for employee development. Their direct involvement in daily operations enables them to identify learning needs and provide immediate contextual feedback. So typically the role in L&D would be to conduct performance reviews and coaching conversations, identifying development goals and linking them to business outcomes, or even recommending or facilitating on the job learning opportunities specifically. When you look into the internal sources of expertise, you also have to acknowledge and appreciate the existence of internal learning and development teams in many organizations. So the in-house L&D team designs and deliver structured learning experiences within the organization. So this is vital with respect to the fact that they are experts in instructional design, learning theory, and the use of technology to enhance typical learning. So the activities can be anything, let's say from creating e-learning modules to, let's say, workshops, or maybe some developmental programs, or maybe analyzing some training needs. Need analysis can be also taken up, evaluating the effectiveness or staying abreast of industry trends and integrating new methods. So internal learning and development teams are vital because they design and deliver structured learning experiences. Now when you look into the internal sources of expertise, you have to also consider the communities of practice. We also understand or call them as COPs. Communities of practice are informal networks of professionals who share interests, challenges and best practices amongst themselves. So these groups, if you ask me, promote peer-to-peer learning and innovation. So typically the benefits would include fostering collaboration and shared problem solving, encourage knowledge transfer across departments, help surface tacit knowledge that isn't documented elsewhere. When you look into the external sources of expertise. There are a lot of similar arrangements or entities that help us to learn or enhance our learning and development within the organization. So I'll start with professional associations and bodies. These organizations set industry standards, if you ask me, and often provide recognized certification pathways. So they serve as bridge between academia and practice, offering events, webinars or journals, or even interactive opportunities or developmental program opportunities. Some of the examples could be, I hope you would have heard about this, CIPD. CIPD is Chartered Institute of Personal Development. Then there is this PMI, which is the Project Management Institute. Then we have the SHRM. SHRM is nothing but Society for Human Resource Management. So these are some of the typical professional associations, like, again I repeat, Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, the Project Management Institute, Society for Human Resource Management. These are not an exhaustive list, but again some of the most common or most famous professional associations. Now let's look into the second entity within the external sources of expertise, which are consultants and external trainers. External experts bring an objective perspective and specialized skills that may not be readily available in-house. So they can support organizational change, upskilling, or the launch of new systems. So the best use case might be, let's say, leadership and executive coaching. Or sometimes there will be, again, diversity, equity, inclusion, belongingness training, or there might be technical or systems training like ERP implementation, etc. Then within the external sources of expertise also, we have some collaborations with academic institutions that come up here. Universities and business schools offer in-depth theoretical knowledge supported by research. So many provide executive education programs tailored to working professionals. So as a B school faculty member, I do recognize this. Many of the management development programs, entrepreneurship development programs, or leadership development programs, MDP, EDPs, LDPs, etc. So universities typically, or business schools typically, have a in-depth connection with industry, and they tend to enhance. And this enhancement, even typically this particular course is enhanced because of the research input. So we tend to stay with or take a lot from the empirical research evidences, or that backs up our theoretical understanding. So when you look into this learning formats, typically from the academic institutions, something like what we are doing right now, we have online courses and certifications. Classic case is this particular course. We have workshops, conferences, and research collaborations that are also part of this. Then there are some custom training programs for corporate clients. Other external source of expertise include online professional networks and communities. We have digital communities such as, say, LinkedIn groups, or sometimes industry Slack channels, or professional forums that enable real-time knowledge sharing and networking. Some of the advantages include access to global expertise, or at times they stay updated on trends and tools, and it helps us to share challenges and seek advice from the peers. So these are typical advantages of online professional networks that we indulge with. Now we move to the third aspect, which is digital and media based expertise. When we talk about digital and media based expertise, these days it's quite common. We start with e-learning platforms. E-learning platforms are self-directed online learning that's flexible, scalable way to build knowledge. Platforms host thousands of courses on everything from, let's say, coding to communication. So again, NPTEL as a platform, LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, Udemy, edX, all these are e-learning platforms. So please have an understanding when you talk about digital and media based expertise, we start with a discussion on e-learning platforms. Then we do have the webinars, the famous podcasts, and videos. These are short, focused learning formats that are ideal for busy professionals. So these resources often feature thought leaders and are useful for staying informed on the go. So some of the examples include, weekly industry podcasts, TED Talks and expert YouTube channels, webinars hosted by vendors or associations typically. So we do have also some of the informative blogs and knowledge repositories in such a way that expert authored blogs and company knowledge bases that can provide deep dives into specific topics and are, if you ask me, critically useful for troubleshooting or researching trends. So internal example would be an organization's, intranet knowledge base. So if you look into your organization, there will be a handbook, there will be, policy frameworks, there will be typical information with respect to anything and everything with respect to the job you are doing, or even the organization you are working on. So there will be a lot of detailing with respect to that. External example would include industry blogs or wikis written by field experts. Typically, when you look into other forms, there are experiential learning also coming up big time as a source of expertise. Let's say something like job rotation and secondments. Let's understand this quickly. Rotational assignments allow employees to step into new roles, learn different functions and build a broader perspective of the business. So benefits would include, it typically breaks down all the silos, all the typical arrangement that happens in a discrete manner. It beats that and it brings in a lot of collaboration. It builds adaptability and cross-functional knowledge again. So you see that people from different departments are able to work together, they are able to come together, discuss, and these job rotations and secondments are worthy enough to make a try or give a try, are worthy enough to give a try. Then there are stretch assignments and special projects, challenging projects beyond one's comfort zone typically fosters growth and innovation. So these assignments often require problem solving, leadership and collaboration. So we typically look into L&D role. It is all about identifying and supporting these assignments with coaching or reflection tools specifically. Then finally, we have mentoring and coaching. One-on-one developmental relationships are vital and powerful tools for personalized learning, if you ask me. So while mentoring is more long-term and development focused, coaching typically targets specific goals or performance types. We have already discussed this. So some of the types would include, peer mentoring, leadership coaching, reverse mentoring, so most of us, we know peer mentoring, leadership coaching, etc. Reverse mentoring is when a junior teaches a senior. It could be, let's say, something sort of a digital skill or something like a new technology, something in AI. So all these aspects, reverse mentoring is possible. So in this session, I try to give you a brief about what is specifically the source of learning, or what are the possible entities that can provide learning within the organization and outside the organization. We looked into the internal sources. We had discussed into all possibilities that knowledge or learning can be generated from or can be acquired from. We also looked into some of the external sources. We also looked into some of the experiential sources also, like let's say when you look into a function within an organization, you might be actually a very professional, seasoned person in doing a particular job. But when you are looking into a cross-functional assignment or a task, you might falter there. So this is where some of the job rotations or cross-functional arrangements can enhance your understanding. So please note, when you are looking into learning and development, there are different sources that can give you learning. First, identify those sources, keep those sources closer to you. Any moment, any chance that you get to learn from them, please do not waste it. You have to use them, you have to understand these sources first, and then you have to try to make them to the best of your capability. So this is where you tend to be a professionally proactive person towards learning and development. And also, whatever are the chances that comes to you with respect to working in a cross-functional assignment or cross-functional task or cross-functional job, try to take it up. And this will enhance your understanding of the work, not only in your department, but also across the organization. So this gives you a refined perfection in terms of task. Now, what does this do? Going ahead or going in top of hierarchy, you'll reach a position whereby you will have a very good knowledge about all the things that are happening in and around your organization. So be it finance, I'm just giving an example, be it operations, be it marketing, be it sales, be it the human resources, whatever it is, you have a good grip over the entire activities of each department. So that will make you a natural leader. So please do understand, learning and development has different manifestation, and the perfect and the best manifestation is it makes you a good leader. And this is typically a fact. When in an organization you rise above the ranks, you'll see that there are some people who sit at the top, they have absolutely zero knowledge about some department, and this is the outcome of this. When you're looking into a cross-functional arrangement right from the beginning, you're keen to learn with respect to your friends, with respect to your colleagues, co-workers, or somebody who even you don't know in another department. If you're coming across that person, you tend to collaborate with the person and try to gain more knowledge. It will eventually help you once you reach the top of the hierarchy. That's what the discussion I had to do in today's session. We'll come up with more details of learning and development in the next section. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.